Welcome everybody to the live stream. Of course, this begins our new streaming schedule where we get to go into the open every Monday together as part of the public live stream process. So thank you so much for joining us here. We've got an interesting market open, obviously a little bit green here on the US 100, up 0.4% in the futures, the fake market futures, and the S&P up about 0.2. So welcome everyone to the Monday pre-market open stream here. We've got some things to be watching for today. Let's have a quick scan though, just of the pre-market so far. So it looks like we've got a little bit of sell-off here in some of the brands that weren't doing so well last week. And we've got some fairly strong moves here in some of the Chinese stocks. Baidu up 4.64%. We've got Square up, Block. That's something we've been looking at now over the last week. Fairly strong patterns on that one, 1.71%. And then we have some interesting ones. Moderna, Biotech was the story of really Friday. And I think Biotech is showing some signs of strength here in the bullishness. Welcome, everyone. Some people are saying we have echo. Is that true? Echo, echo, echo. Anyone else receiving echo here? Could I have two StreamYards open? Maybe that's it. Hope not. Should be all right. No echo for anyone else? Deborah says yes. Sound is good. No echo. Okay. All right. If it's okay, that's good. If it isn't, refresh the stream. Just check it out. So welcome, everyone. Let's do it. Let's go into some of the things that we're thinking about this market. I'm just going to load up one quick thing I want to look at, and then we'll get started as we've been talking about it. So just get this ready. Here we go. No, that's not the one I want. All right. Okay, interesting. So, all right, US 100 daily. Here we are. What happened on Friday? So the rally basically went like this. It sold off 1 day, 2 days, and the Friday. And we open here a little bit green, but still underneath this point here. I think day traders are going to be really heavily looking at this market at this zone. So why? Because the market overall did do a pullback. Now, is it a huge pullback? Some people would argue, well, that's not very big considering the run. Well, it's still 3.64%. A lot of people expect this point here, this 14,500, this 14.6 area. It doesn't mean the market has to do that, okay? So it doesn't mean the market has to come down to this price just because you will it there or you want it there. I mean, between 14,250 and 14.5, resistance and resistance become support. So this is clearly an area everyone's looking at. For the day traders out there, you're watching the high and the low very, very closely, because when you put this out to a weekly and you really consider it, what could this be? For many people, this could be a shooting star. So basically, it could be a pin bar rejection candle. If you get a follow through bearish this week, let's just say we had a close and the close went bearish, it's actually a very bad signal for the markets. Technically, you'd be looking at actually, or did we just get all of this wrong? So whatever happens this week, if it does short off in the Monday, Tuesday, remember, for you to be correct bullishly, you kind of want it to then rebound back up. All right. Very important that it does that, because otherwise you're going to have all these markets which have shooting stars on them. Let's load up a few. SPX, go that to the weekly. Here it is. Look at this. Rejection candle, okay? Right off the rejection here. So it went higher, rejection, imagine a follow through negative. Not good. Not what you'd want to be looking at on the market conditions. Let's look at a few others. Let's look at XLY, consumer discretionary. I talk about this being risk on. Again, does that look like the type of thing that you want to be closing bearish this week? No. So this week is very important from that aspect more than anything else. That is a very important aspect, that if we continue to see sell off for the start of the week, that we then go bullish. And then you need to remember some of the things that occur in April. So April tends to be a very bullish month. Let's just have a look at the overview. So April tends to be very bullish. Sideways sometimes at the beginning, very bullish, into very bullish, into potentially bearish. That's just the statistical facts of 2001 to 2021 year. Recent 21-year April market performance. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 4 into day 5 of trading days. This is trading days, obviously, not necessarily the other ones. We actually get a weakness there. Interesting. So day 1 of trading in April, 2, 3, and 4 tend to be relatively okay. And then that 5th one, not so good. Interesting fact there that they all tend to go bad. But what I'm looking for more is this rally. And that's because you also have Good Friday in the middle. So you've obviously got Good Friday, you've got Easter, you've got a holiday. And markets tend to rally into those holiday periods. Markets tend to rally before earnings as well. Let's look at the US 500. From a day trader perspective, what are they looking at? Again, high and a low. High and a low. Look at the monthly bars. That's okay, Shane. We'll look at the monthly bars soon. I know exactly what you're talking about. So here we have the bull and the bear. So basically, if we get a follow through today, would that new high trigger buys from an algorithm? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Would a new high here trigger buys from an algorithm? It's certainly a scenario that you could be looking at today. I want to ask the question of the room, though, before we go any further. I'm going to make a poll right now. It's a really important poll. We've got almost 500 people joining us already. Thank you for giving us a like, by the way. Let's get it over 100. Let's do a poll right now. Okay, here we go. I'm going to create it. I want to do these polls every time we do it. Because these polls are invaluable. Let's ask the community what's going on. Here we go. Snoozer says, expecting the market to top in 650 days. Interesting. Valdo says, so Tom, what you say about the apparel retail stocks? I'm eyeing AEO right now. Such a nice overall drop in the sector. Cheers. I don't have too much opinion on it necessarily. So let's find out. Hey, guys, answer the poll with your true answer. Pietro says, so glad about this live in lockdown here in Shanghai. Oh, that sucks, man. Yeah, that whole province is in lockdown. Needs something like this. Yes, unfortunate. I heard you got double tested. It wasn't just one. You got double tested. So hopefully you get to come out soon, or at least whatever happens. Good luck out there. And good luck to everybody around the world, obviously, this week. So we'll find out what people think about the poll. But yeah, my kind of thought process here goes into a lot of this Friday. We've had 3 days down. Traditionally, that's the type of way markets like to go down. A lot of the time, they'll go in three runs. Sometimes they'll go a little bit more, but you go over here, you got 4, went bullish. Over here, you got 2 days down. Over here, 2, then went bullish, then 3 days down, then it went bullish. 3 days is a common thing. 3 days down, bullish. So if it's going to go, it actually could go off this level. I mean, it's valid. It's a valid concept. Someone mentioned the monthly before, but I just want to keep looking into this. So let's have a look now at the futures market. Go to the 15 minutes, see how it's interacted with that zone. Let's understand some analysis here. So coming into today's session, wait a second, is this a potential inverse head and shoulders in the 15 market? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, question mark? Is it? I don't know. Could be. Very much so. Now, patterns are not really my favorite thing in the world. Obviously, I like to understand the price action movement of markets. But we saw lower peaks or lower highs coming off last week. That was something that really told me that the market was getting destroyed. Obviously, we did that in the private live streams. Here we have the potential of a pattern. If we breach this level, we suddenly make a new high, making the bullish hammer have follow-through momentum. If we then breach, pull back, double bottom, lightning bolt, I don't know, miniature head and shoulders, whatever, any of these types of things, bullish hammers come off here, tweezer comes off here. Is that going to be a relatively strong bullish signal? Unfortunately, it may be, guys. And if you're feeling bearish, that's going to be a big thing. Now, if you're feeling bearish towards today's market, you don't really, if it false breaks out here, so let's say it does this, and then bang, straight back down, or it breaches followed by an engulf straight back down, or any of these types of things where it just instantly busts back down, that's going to be pretty damn bearish. And I think also you can put in other zones like 45.40. All of a sudden, 45.40 is not too bad. Obviously, 4,500, a huge level. Psychologically, 45.10 here. New low, down she goes. Okay, down she goes at that point. Why? It makes sense. We've had the pullbacks, but at this stage, look, the price action is really uneasy here into the Monday session. We don't have that much direction. We know the Friday in the last couple of minutes bought back up. We know that futures are trading a little bit more bullish, and we know that the daily looks like that. So if we get follow through and this is an inverse head and shoulders and it comes back down, all of a sudden buyers are going to be more committed to a trade like this. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we start to look for in the markets. Now, obviously, you've got to make your own decisions. This is just looking at technical analysis. That's all it is. But certainly some interesting stuff there. The ideal scenario for bulls, if you're feeling bullish about the market in general, the ideal scenario is to grab a fib out, take the pull, and hope for a 38.2. A 38.2 to a 50, this area here. That brings us back down to the moving average being the 20, important, and brings us back down to the potential here of even getting a 50% full fib pullback right around that resistance. So either here, previous resistance becomes support, or here, previous resistance becomes support. The two perfect, better scenarios for the bull that wants the deeper pullback. Come over here to the US 100. Let's actually go to the NASDAQ. You'll notice the NASDAQ held the 20 moving average on the way down. One false break, literally hanging man. Instant little miniature break, and then just quickly rallied to the short. And then all of a sudden we broke through and it became a rally. So here becomes very, very, very crazy. All of a sudden around this point becomes pretty key. So this is really tough. It's tough. It's not that easy to read the market today. Maybe it's clear to you. It's not so clear to me. What is partially clear to me is the seasonality seems to be playing out. The data seems to be playing out. And we do have an overall bullish bias at the moment in the markets from a technical perspective. It doesn't mean that you stop worrying about certain things on the right-hand side, but as you'll notice, the 2-year here is fully inverted with the 10-year. And I want to ask the community this question. Community, what do you think? US 2-year, 10-year, are you concerned about it right now? Just say yes, yes or no, yes or no. Are you concerned about the US 2-year versus 10-year, yes or no? Right now, current bull versus bear poll is in 61% bull, 39% bear. Interesting. All right, here we go. So people are coming in with their votes. They're going crazy. Nikhil Sharma, 100. Thank you very much. Hi, can you please check the stock Indraprastha Gas IGL? Thank you very much. We'll check it out soon. So Julia says a little bit. Most likely, most people here are no, no, no. Some people are yes. Yes. Some people, yes, no, yes, not now, yes, not now, no, not for a year, no, no, yes, yes. I'd probably say about 30% of you, 30% of you are saying yes, and the rest are saying no. I want to bring a statistic that most of you are probably not considered. Let's see if anyone spots the thing. Where are we here? Okay, whether it's 10-year or 3. By the way, I went through 10-year, 3 months. Yeah, it's still fine to look at, but yeah, I still think 210 is the way to go. Okay, most of the time. 10-3 kind of shows you pretty similar stuff. So in both of these, specifically this one, what is the most important or what the craziest thing about this? And I'll give you a hint. It's not the 14 months in between the inversion and the average fall of the market. What does anyone probably doesn't spot that actually happens that's pretty crazy here? Does anyone know? Gary saying, he says 210. He's the gentleman that made this. Thank you very much, Gary. We'll just quickly put you up. Gary's a legend. Thank you very much, Gary. Elon has Twitter moving in pre. Okay, interesting, Sherlock. So, Chris gets it. Absolutely. There it is. The 15% up. Chris, you're smoking it. You're going through the middle here and really bringing in the good stuff. So, yeah, absolutely. 15%. So, does anyone know the average 12-month expectation for an S&P 500? And no, it's not 22%. No, it's not what it has done in the last couple of years. The average is probably between around 7 and 9, let's call it, or something like that. Yeah. Now we're talking 14 months, 14.75%, 15%, sometimes 23, sometimes I would say there's probably even more in some of these rallies. And remember, these say no recession followed, but that's because 24 months here. If you actually looked at it, insane gains through some of these. So insane gains during a time of inversion is actually what you're expecting. Higher than average returns. It's crazy to think about it that way, but that's a very powerful thing in that data. Let's move over to IGL here quickly, but that's just something I thought that you should look at, because if you realized Elon bought 10% of Twitter, really? Oh, okay. That'll make Twitter move. Let's just have a quick look. I need to look. Up 20% off Elon buying 10%. He's more powerful than Buffett moving into something. Let's have a look at the stream. All right. Bloody Elon's Twitter things. Let's have a look. Elon Musk. Is that real Elon Musk? I don't know. He must have changed his picture. I'm following him. All right. What's he say here? Where's his Twitter? I don't even see it. Is it here, or is it's just been disclosed? I don't know. Come follow us over at FX Evolution on Twitter, by the way. Elon took 9.2% stake in Twitter, says Sherlock Holmes. Interesting. SEC filing. Okay, no worries. I'm not going to bother looking at it. I'll trust you guys and trust the market knows that he actually did buy it. So he filed in. What a sneaky one. Didn't he last week say, I'm thinking of maybe making Twitter, making a new social media platform? And then he already had bought it. Oh my God. So dodge. So dodge. So it's up 20% off his announcement. All right. It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with it. I'd say the rally probably pulls back at some point. I doubt it just keeps rallying. It is pretty funny though, that he hated on it and then he already had bought it. 47.40. So 47. So it's basically this resistance kind of gone. Well, I guess if you've been in it, good. I mean, all of these things have been accumulating here, but certainly very, very understand it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I feel good about that one, guys. All right, let's do this one. IGL. Oh, wait, make sure I get the right stock. I assume it is this gas stock. Looks like a lightning bolt from the TA perspective. So just again, with these trough, peak, higher trough, looks like a flag. You're looking for that higher peak past 400. Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, that's basically flagging. If you take the pole length, that's what you're looking for. And you generally take the distance of the pole length and extrapolate that out. And if that proves to a level, which in this way, there we go. If that case proves to a level, which I think it proves okay around this 450 into 472, that's pretty strong. So certainly looks to be improving. I would like it through 400, but that does look like a flag, and it's just busted off one of my favorite things to see, which is a rejection wicks, because that means it's taken out shorters, which again kind of creates a squeezy kind of area. Look at this market; it's coming back down here again. So let's have a look at the US 100. So the US 100 down a little, 0.24%. Remember, we don't go in today to biased. All right. It's going to be difficult from that action. No worries. No worries. That's fine. Perfect. Will BHP and other miners still keep going up? They're pretty high right now. I was very bullish on them last year. You've got to watch iron ore price. Have a look whether that's ridiculous or not. I'd recommend you look at the iron ore price, have a look at it in comparison to history, and then see whether you can do any TA on the iron ore price would be my suggestion there in terms of working it out. So let's now get past Twitter for a second, because Twitter is cool and all, but it's really just the hype train. I'm not sure if that justifies a 20% just because Elon took 10. I mean, now he'll be certainly spruiking it super hard, and I'm sure he'll be really pressing Twitter to do certain things that he believes advantageous. Could be a good long-term thing for Twitter, but I don't know if it'll hold. So at one point, Twitter was up 25% in pre-market. Now I guess it's up 20%. Yeah, so US 100 here actually weakening off a little bit. Interesting. Remember, US 500, we've got that resistance here. We want it to breach past that resistance in trade. Now, if it falls here, let's say it continues to fall, especially if it gets past even this little candle here and goes underneath there, some day traders are going to be looking at this and they're going to say, well, you know what? I think it's moved past that point. Then it makes sense to go to 4,500. And if it gets past 4,500, then we're talking about 2050 EMA. So check that on the daily, or 4,400. Let's bring up some puts for this week. It's very important we understand where the puts are. This kind of analysis is important for us to understand the markets. Remember that. So right now we are sitting on the 4th for me, obviously. And then we've got the 8th is our expiration. So let's have a look and bring up the 8th. Okay. All right. 8th coming in, guys. Here we go. Well. What is this? This is from the private community. If you want to get a 7-day free trial, you can do so at fxevolution.com. Otherwise, you can obviously go and find Yahoo options and pull out the ones. Look at that. What is this? Some random puts sitting on the 440 for the SPY. So quite a lot of puts floating around. Would some people call that possibly a put wall? Indeed. It looks like there's still a bit of remnant puts sitting in the markets. And this is due to the fact that so many people were bearish, obviously, a few weeks ago. And that's now shifted. So we've got that 450 call. And we've got a 440 put. And a little bit in the middle. So if the market wants to make maximum money, I already know that around 450 is actually the perfect max pain expiration. If you actually noticed, the options market moved the market directly to maximum pain last week. So if we have a look at maximum pain this week, we're sitting right here, 450 at the moment for the strike, okay? Now, max pain is not good enough to trade off. It's just something that if you understand that this manipulation does occur, then you can get a bit better an idea. Now, if we know there's a lot of puts sitting at 440, if the market comes down, where do we expect the bounce to occur? Probably 440. Trio says, look at next week's puts for the QQQ. Okay, let's check it out. Might as well. So you're talking about the week after this week, yeah? I'll just put the QQ in. We've got the QQQ for the 8th. Let's have a look. Okay, interesting. Here's the 8th one. And then the next expiration will be the 15th. So we'll get the 15th. Bring that up for the QQQ. Okay. Why is that not? Oh, okay. I don't know why that's not coming up, but anyway, it's all right. So here's this week for the QQQ. Looks to be pretty big amount of calls actually floating around here. I'd be interested to look at the Yahoo and see where that is, but a lot of calls there. Puts kind of leading down. You've got the kind of like this middle zone, which would be around here. So if we look at the QQQ right now in the markets, let's check it out. QQQ. half an hour off the open here, by the way. Thank you very much to the 700 people joining us for the open. Appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate the likes and the thumbs up and all of that stuff. So we're probably looking at around... I should be the 14th. Did I make a mistake? Oh, thanks, guys. There we go. All right, here we go. There it is. So that's where all the, again, just remnant puts left over underneath. So sitting at the 330 and underneath that. So if we go back over to the QQQ for a second, where are we? Got all sorts of things going on here. There we go. Go over here. Again, doesn't really point towards super weakness occurring. I mean, obviously 330 is down here, so that doesn't help us that much. But I would say, based on what we're seeing with the SPY, we've got a clear 440. Now, I tend to watch the SPY puts and calls a lot more than the QQQ. This week has all sorts of crazy options on the QQQ, but I tend to watch the SPY the most. So 440 on the SPY puts us around where here on the NAS. About 350 on the QQQ. Go back over the SPY for a second. It's 440. We would expect both to hit at around the same time. Will there be buyers here? I would say yes, they'll be relatively committed. And what you're looking for today, bears, if you're a bear, you're looking for it underneath here. That will give you a little bit of a smiley face for the start of the week. But to think it's going all the way back down to the lows, I don't know about that, guys. I do not know about that. Oh, yeah, 14th, of course. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, yeah, down in this area here, anything in this block, this box zone, could be met by buyer demand, even where we are right now. We correctly called it last week. If anyone was watching the stream, I was crapping on about Apple being too overly expensive. Why? Because Apple had so many days of run. So many days of run. So that was important. Now, if I'm telling you what my Bondi indicator says today, it had a really good Friday. I'll say that. So the bond indicator was going bullish on Friday and the market was going bearish. So let's just say one thing. The bonds were kind of disagreeing with the market, which is again a positive sign for bulls at this stage. Let's go over to the rally. So the poll, we'll end the poll now. So the poll, the results were 60% bullish, 40% bearish for today. Right on, 389 votes, so quite a good subsample. So most of you guys are bullish today. Interesting. Now, usually, I'm sorry to say this, community. Oh, often you're all wrong. Okay, now that doesn't mean it's not a bad thing, yeah? It's not a bad thing. But that does sometimes happen. we poll you for a reason. We poll you for a reason, or at least I do. And remember that day that the I think it was the Russia-Ukraine war, I think you were polled at 90% negative. And it went bullish on that day. That was a strong indicator to go bullish here in some ways. But at this stage, I would say that's a little bit more than that's actually more towards the bull than normal. Usually you're about 50-50 on this channel, or very close to 55-45. So at the moment, 60-40. Interesting. So we really come in here with no personal opinion on the markets other than we've got strong resistance levels and we've got strong support levels. And we have this weird zone in between. And if we break the strong support level, it looks to be going downtown for the start of the week. But come the end of the week, would we expect to be under 4,400 at that point? The answer is probably no, based on the options. And the more puts that are chucked in the market, the more likely it will actually rally. And then we've got to remember that, of course, we go into public holidays in the next couple of weeks as well, which tends to rally the markets. So I think it's this weird dichotomy between bullish and bearishness right now. And this market, potentially this level here, is one of the most important points today. This little area here and this little area here. They're the key statistical kind of areas that we would be looking at from a technical analysis level. Remember, it's not just every level that's important. It's certain levels that are important. And they're the ones that we're looking at for this session. So yeah, that's really something that we're checking out. All right, let's quickly load up here again the charts. So we've got pre-market. Let's look at the negatives. So negatives, we've got McDonald's, we've got PepsiCo, we've got Boeing, Walt Disney, all these types of things. Not really too negative. Pre-side up, we have Baidu still, Ferrari. What else? Block, so Square, something we've been talking about. Biotech, BNTX, and a few others. So let's now look at some of these bullish ones. Let's look at Square to start off with. We'll load up Block here. So it's trading at 135. Now, anyone in the community, you tell me what this is. What does that look like to you when you load it up? What kind of pattern could that be? What kind of pattern could that be? Thad says, shouldn't Tom's followers be better than the normies? Yeah, they're a bit better. We're a bit better as a community, but we still tend to make certain mistakes that other people make. As in, people do vote still a certain way. Hey, if you could get me a synopsis on everybody each day, and obviously you can follow Twitter and all of those types of things to see whether they're bullish or bearish. If I could go follow some communities, yeah, I would totally go against it. I was actually on Wall Street Bets today, but unfortunately it was all just AMC, GME, and just memes. So it didn't really help me out too much. So people here are saying Wyckoff accumulation. Someone says the giraffe pattern. I guess it could be the giraffe pattern. And then people are also going with flags and all of those types of things as well. Yeah, again, whatever pattern you like to look at it as, it's clearly accumulation. There was clearly some super volume here. We are in a level of breakout, and we're kind of coiling above that. Now, if you believe this is Wyckoff due to max pain being formed here, what does a Wyckoff do? It tends to sit above, coiling above the breakout. In fact, in his perfect scenario, if you look at Wyckoff accumulations, that often is what occurs, and then it breaks to the upside and goes off on a big kind of run. So this is a stock that has interest in it because, again, it's doing the right types of things. Now, am I partial to this stock anymore? In fact, I have absolutely no opinion on this stock anymore. I used to like it. Over here, I liked it a lot. If anyone's been watching the streams for a long time, in fact, I was a big fan, okay? And then they bought Afterpay. And then I sold the stock and was like, I'm done with it. Because for me, it became ridiculous. I didn't like the Afterpay purchase. That's just my personal opinion. It's not anything else. That was just because I was looking at more from an investment. And then in my opinion, because I know Afterpay, they paid too much. They're now back down here. So you're looking at more from a technical level. And I'll give you guys a hint that I say in the mentoring all the time. If you trade what you like, what do you tend to have? And this is just a really important hint to how you need to do it. If you trade what you want to invest in or what you do invest in, what do you tend to have as a big problem? So what you invest in, if you trade it, what happens? Sebastian smashes it right here. Gary says emotions. Look at this. Bias. Donkin Dave says optimism, bias, bullish bias, bias. You have bias. Jason says you have success. Yeah, I mean, you could if you only go long, sure. But what I guess I'm saying is if you trade what you really like, you tend to have a bias. That bias blinds you from signs of weakness or signs of strength or signs of anything. It can completely blind you from a lot of stuff. So trading with bias is actually wrong. And if you love something like a Tesla or a Microsoft, like I love Microsoft, it is my pick to the first $5 trillion company based purely on the fact that I just think it can scale itself so easily and just continuously just make money for no apparent reason. Now, it's not an endorsement to buy it. It's just something that I particularly like personally, okay? But yeah, I mean, these are the types of things where I don't trade Microsoft. Why? Because I like it. I have a bias on it. So sometimes it's better actually trading things you don't have bias on because then you can have your stop loss, then you can have your entry, and then you can have your take profit. And I'll just say this to you all right now. I had a fight with someone this week a little bit about this idea. He said to me, I trade. I said, okay, cool. And he goes, sometimes when the trade goes wrong, I invest in it. I said, well, wait a second. Are you investing or are you trading? And he said, no. Only when it goes wrong, I invest in it. He goes, I've got bad trades. I said, so you don't have a stop loss? He goes, oh, no. It's not about stop loss. It becomes an investment. I said, so you don't trade, you invest. Because a trader would have some kind of plan. He goes, no, I do have a plan. I said, yeah, but you invest in it. So, I mean, that's the difference. Yeah, there's a big difference. I love both. Investment, trading, they're both good. But you know what I mean? Like, this is where everyone starts. How many of you, tell me in the chat, how many of you have started like this? How many of you have started like this? Where you turn a trade into investment. I'll put my hand up. I have done that many, many times. Gary says, take it from me. I love Apple so much and I blindly traded and invested in it. Trading it took me out big time. I don't trade what I love anymore. A few people are saying they did that. Deborah says she did that. Yeah, look, I mean, I know I'm ranting here on a Monday and you guys are like, tell me about the market. I don't care about your rant, Tom. But look, it's a super important thing. I want to help you guys. Like that's something that's super important. You need to think about it. If you're trading and then turning those trades into investments, I'm not sure if that's trading. That's like a hybrid mold. And if you then do that on penny stocks or hyper stocks that don't have a real basis, it can turn into a recipe for disaster, which is why a lot of you are probably here. And unfortunately, I've heard people doing that recently and it turns bad. Turns really bad. So anyway, Square there, quite an interesting base accumulation. Let's take a look at Tesla. Obviously, the news on the weekend, old Tesla got pretty nice amount of I guess, cars shipped or whatever, delivered. It's not too bad. From the technical level, we're obviously looking here at possibly a little flag on the smaller time frame. We're obviously got the strength, the 11. So the 1,110 is 1,110 is the resistance. And we have the support being formed here through the previous Friday close, basically a little long leg doji. And if we make a new low, what happens? We go to fill the gap. Where's the gap? Going down to about $1,000. So the gap actually peaks about 1,025. So again, day traders are going to be looking closely at this trade because you're trapped right now in a little range. But if you breach that range, especially to the downside, because it's a long leg doji, indecision candle, you would think you try to move through the gap. Again, it's going to be a sign of weakness that's going to come through the market the whole way through. If you're feeling bullish on it, you move to the upside, and especially once you get through 1,110, then all of a sudden 1,200 becomes the next point. That's the key here. There's a participation level from a technical analysis standpoint that could go to 1,200. Yeah, you've got this 1,160, but in general, once it goes through here, you would think it goes to 1,200. There you go. So that's what generally has happened. Monica says cutting losses is hard to do. Cutting losses in companies that you turn from trades to investments is really hard to do. You don't need to cut a loss if you have a stop loss. It cuts it for you. Now, some of you will not trade with stop losses and you might say, well, they're stupid to have. Well, you still have to have some form of area where you make a decisional change. And that's very important. You have to realize that in trading. Eventually, you're going to have to take losses. They're hard to take. Either you force it with a stop loss or you have to manually take them, which can turn out to be disastrous. So Tesla here, we've got a potential gap down to 1,000 as well, which would make sense. It's pretty far away from the 20. But that doesn't mean it can be stopped just yet. I mean, obviously split, decent deliveries. I own a Tesla now, guys. I can say this. Yeah, they're pretty fun. I'll say that. They're pretty all right. They're pretty all right. They're basically just a giant millennial car with technology. And you're just like, and it's nice. Like you can see why people like them and they go crazy about them. My favorite setting, by the way, is being able to turn the heater on if I'm eating food and I'm in a restaurant. So I can turn the heater on. And when I get back to the car, each seat is set perfectly. Okay. And by the way, you don't need a supercharger in your house. I didn't get one, or whatever the fast charger is. No need. If you use it as a secondary car, you can charge the whole thing overnight, like 30-40%. Not a problem at all. So yes, the Tesla, the 1,000, the gap, I would like to have it happen. It may not, but that's certainly how I'm trapping the market in terms of this stock. Thank you very much to also the 770 people joining us here today. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like the stream if you've enjoyed it, if you kind of value in it so far. We've done the market. So we've done the US 500, US 100. We spent a bit more time than usual on those. But I think that's where the importance is, because the market's going to move with it. Let's look out at BNTX. This is something that we took a look at with the private community last week. And you can see I've got like little weird things. Now, obviously, it's opening up 1%. Again, kind of looks like an inverse head and shoulders, kind of looks like a flag here. I don't care which pattern you see. It doesn't really matter. A pattern, though, like a flag or an inverse head and shoulders, by the way, both of them are predicting the same thing, which is a 220 to 225 kind of resistance. This is a technical resistance. So bio suddenly came alive as a sector. And whatever bio you're looking at, they're all kind of showing themselves some strength here. And the earnings is out of the way on this stock. And I'm not saying this is the one or any of them are really the one, but it's interesting to see biotech is improving. And you go over to something like IBB, and here's some technical analysis I've got set up for that. Again, the flag is there. And you can see the resistance at around this 136, 135, 136, and then the flow through to the 145 after that, or at least somewhere around this area here. So you probably could range that. So look, bio suddenly became alive last week. I mean, it's already been improving, but once it broke through here, come the last 4 trade days of last week, it started to get much, much more exciting. Interesting stuff. A high risk sector, obviously incredibly high risk, but technically improving, which is cool. Bill says, be careful with your Tesla. In about 5 years, you'll need to pay $8K for a battery change. In 5 years, I doubt I own that car anymore, Bill, but I appreciate that. Yep, I agree. They have become iPhones. Teslas are iPhones. I know some people with older one, like a Model S that's about ages older than that. But yeah, you're right. They're basically iPhones. You have to replace them all the time. So you don't go in. It's like, do you go into a German car like a Mercedes with the idea of owning it for 5 years? I can see Tyrone's in the room here. Tyrone, would you recommend people hold a Mercedes over 4 or 5 years generally? Here's net. So here's like a hacking software. Couple of days down at a level of resistance. What does that look like? Again, it's similar accumulation. These hypers, I mean, they've come down a lot. Obviously, this is an incredibly overpriced position in some ways by a lot of metrics. But, you know, fundamentals, what do we know at the moment? Fundamentals, just bizarro. But yeah, you've got accumulation. It's broken out. So there's plenty of stuff. Twilio, another one that I brought up last week in the private community. Why? Because it was breaking through. Let me just quickly reprice that. So it was breaking through its downward trend. It broke through the 20 and it created a flag. Amazing. Straight into resistance. Do we have strong resistance here? Absolutely, we do. At around that 177. But if they break through, you know, what could be the power of April for these? Again, risky positions, but technically resistance is here. And this is the area that has the potential to get hit. Tyrone says, no, that's right. And you are correct, Andre. Tesla battery has warranty for at least, I think it's 7 or 8 years. However, it's only warranty. It's warranty that it holds, I think, at least 70% charge. So something like that. Something like that. Anyway, just another one that we're looking at here. We've got a question about NVIDIA before, whether NVIDIA is turning bad. Well, again, I think if you're looking at NVIDIA, both of the same levels that we talked about last time are important. We've got the breach. We've got the pullback. Where are we? Previous resistance becoming support. Much potential. If the market goes bearish here, where does NVIDIA potentially go? Right there. Okay. I'm not sure if it will. I have no idea. But it's right at the first level that you would expect buyers to get committed towards the position. If it fell through, the next position area that you would think they get committed at from a technical perspective is right here. We've got some people coming in here saying, not true on the Tesla, tons of independent data showing between 300 and 500K mile battery life, depending on charge and usage habits. And that is down to 70% charge. Yeah, I believe. Look, I mean, again, I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just not going to hold it for the past 5 years personally. Okay, that's personal. But I still think they are kind of like iPhones. But look, an iPhone can last 10 years. Doesn't mean you want to own it in 10 years. And I'll tell you this, it's because of the computers, all right? So I have an AMD in my one. Quick. I have a friend with an Atom. Absolute trash. Realistically. It's so slow. It took like 35 seconds to open, or maybe even longer to open YouTube. It took so long. I was looking at it. I was like, oh, it's like watching like an iPhone 3G try to load an app. Like it was so bad. So I think that's what you really got to worry about, the computer in them more than anything else. If you want to use the technology features, those kind of things. It was a bit laggy. So the new AMD, tick of approval from me. Tick of approval. Very good. All right. What else have we got in accumulation? Don't want to worry about that thing. Obviously, SPLK last week on fire. SE coming up to a resistance. These are just some hyper stocks that we haven't talked about in a long time. Interesting level, isn't it? 120, 130 basically on SE. And we keep scrolling through here, and I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's a few current accumulations that we had. I mean, one that somebody bought up, which was pretty crazy, was Crocs. It seems like all these particular positions, this is now busted down, so it never got through. That's why you've got to wait for confirmation on these types of positions. Again, we were pricing it. We were thinking about it. Looks like Crocs is most likely not going to get it done. AVTR, again, not going to get it done, it looks like. AAP broke through, hit the resistance. That's done. We can close these. We don't need them anymore. Triple M, interesting. Very decent accumulation. Again, something I've been sharing in the community at the moment is this, which is a stock that most people aren't looking at. Most people aren't looking at that. But you'd be surprised actually what sectors are really going well right now. So what sector do you think did particularly well last week? Let's ask the community here. What sector? We've got 11 minutes until, like, I'm obviously a big fan of sectors. I talk about them a lot in the mentoring for a reason. But what sector do you think did particularly well last week? So Triple M, yeah, I mean, sitting in accumulation. It's hard to pick the bottom here. This stock's been horrid since June of 21, but it certainly looks like it's in accumulation. So people said biotech, materials, blah. Yep, a lot of them. Defensive. Well, actually, it's the old utilities. You never guessed it would be utilities. Did amazingly well. While the rest of the market was flaunting and doing all sorts of things, utilities went up 5.1%. Technically better than the market. Nice. Mohammed gets it correct. XLU. Jeremy does too. And Bill. Nice. I'm not saying that's better than everybody else, but it's certainly an interesting breakout here of the market. So basically, it was doing the best in comparison to the rest of the market last week, or one of the best. I mean, there'll be stocks that did more, but you know what I mean? That's a broad market right there. So we continue to enter here with a little bit of bullish sentiment. For anyone that didn't watch or is joining us here a little bit late, we've got about 800 people here. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got this high 45.65 for the S&P, and we've got a low sitting about 45.10. If we scroll down to a 15-minute chart, just a quick synopsis here. Let's refresh that. Oops. We do have the potential of maybe even an inverted head and shoulders here on the 15-minute. Big important factor is follow through to the bull side if it does occur. We did a poll before. 60% of you were bullish and 40% of you were bearish. Now, whether that's a good, counter kind of position today, I don't know. But certainly that's what everyone came in at. So we've got here a resistance. If we breach through and we pull back, could there be potential? Certainly something you could bring your own system and concept into. Obviously a key level from a technical perspective. Down to the bottom here, 45.10 if you're feeling bearish, or even that 45.40. If you're feeling bearish, 45.40, if close underneath that will probably expose 45.10. And underneath 45.10, 4,500, do we expect further bearish pressure? Yeah, that's where you expect the bears to come out to play. And at that point, you're starting to feel a little bit more positive about getting your 38.2 fib. And on top of that, maybe even the 50. A nice, healthy pullback into hopefully what we expect from the data and seasonality, which is the bullish April. Keep in mind, we do have a market that's going into Good Friday and Easter coming up, which traditionally have very good runs on them. Michael says, PayPal, what do you think of that one? All right, let's load up PayPal. PayPal, similar to the others, certainly still a decent accumulation. It's obviously created a bottom. It's bottomed off here, come up, and it's just finding nice little buy pressure coiling. It's coiling itself. So while the rest of the market's going a little bit bearish right now, these hyper stocks are holding predominantly in a tight ranges for themselves. They're up and down quite a lot. But again, PayPal could be at the bottom. Remember, Pelosi bought this. Okay, everyone? Pelosi bought it, not me. Pelosi. Look at her. She was buying it all over here or over here or wherever she was buying it. So she's been a big fan of the PayPals. Well, at least her husband has. Harry Ride says, thoughts on Twitter, Tom? I know you don't like social. I don't. And yeah, we talked about it before. Elon has now got 10% stake. I think, look, I don't follow. If you miss, if you're in Twitter and you're loving it today, okay, well done. You got saved by Elon. If you're outside of Twitter, why would you rally behind that? I mean, basically, you're just rallying behind a height kind of move in the pre-market. Do you really want to trade that way? You got to ask yourself a question. Is that even replicatable? Can you even replicate that? Now, there's a difference between going for a short squeeze and targeting in your GME AMCs, which have some method to the madness, by the way. I mean, it's like AMC here. You know, the squeeze happened. Everyone got busted and they're coming down. At 20, could they be looking more towards the bull side? I mean, that's where like around this area here is maybe where the crazy bulls come back in. I don't know. That would make some logical sense that they might come back in. Let's go to GME. GME holding comparatively better due to the diamond hand nature of the people in the GME. They're more diamondy and more handsy. But AMC, again, these have some kind of replicatable process where you understand at least what's occurring. Twitter is just a random announcement by Elon that he's bought 10% a few months ago and then told everyone he was going to make a new social media platform. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm unsure. And when you're unsure, what can you do? Is Barrack still looking bullish? Yeah, gold still looks okay, but you've got to watch gold, the price itself. So we've got 5 minutes till the open here. Let's look at the Webull. Don't talk about the Webull. We're not sponsored by Webull at all. I'm just going to use that here because it's here. So Baidu, 4%, Block, 1.63% up. Okay, interesting. Semiconductor, NXPI, Regeneron, so another bio. A few bio in here. BioNTech, Twilio. Okay, so there's some greens, and from the red side of the big ones, we've got like JP Morgan, PepsiCo, kind of like the older crowd of stocks, a little bit down. Not really a clear sign other than we see a bit of hyper and a bit of bio and some of the Chinese tech. We'll do crypto in a second as well. Just have a look at gold. So gold's trading at 1930. Now, do I have much opinion on it? Yeah, I mean, we got the long leg doji. We haven't really had a decision made yet, bullish or bearish off that. I do not want gold underneath this price. That would be very bad, okay? Very bad. Underneath this price, very bad. Above this price, smiley face, okay? Right here, question mark. It's kind of like how I feel like with oil. You know, people rammed me for saying that oil was cooked when it came into this area, but you know, it's fallen off a lot. Now, I'm unsure of clear direction on oil anymore. I'm neither bullish nor bearish. I really don't. I would probably, well, I would say I'm more bearish than bullish, but not with any strong conviction. I could see oil doing, you know, the loop-de-loop. Demand will increase in summer for America. That is true. That's probably the main bull argument here. But at the same time, no, I'm not overly convinced by the price action either way. If you're looking at energy stocks like XLE, you're looking for a breach past the 79. But you've got to start putting into perspective. People say, oh, Al, it's, you know, still cheap. Well, it's not. This is a big area for it. Just like we predicted a few weeks ago. It's a big area for it. People want it here. Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't know. It's at a resistance that I think is incredible. I mean, that was my first one for sure. But this is pretty incredible. So market coming in here, 0.3%. Got 2 minutes till the open. US 100. We'll load up the US 500. We'll put the US 100 next to it. Let's do that. So we'll go US 100 here. Why I've got so many damn lines on this. Books load up NDX. There we go. Clean, clean, clean. No overcomplication. So today we're really just looking for a high or a low to be cracked. Same thing goes on the S&P. And on the S&P, what you're really looking for is obviously if it does follow through on the downside, remember there is this nasty weekly. Now, some people are going to counter that, but look at the monthlies, Tom. Look at those wick rejections. Absolutely. I do not discount all of this craziness. This is kind of looking like the bottom's in. Not only, could be bottom in for the year too. Well, you'd have to hope so. If it goes underneath the lows, ooh, could be bad. So, all right, there we are. 1 minute till we open here, guys. 60% of you were bullish, 40% were bearish. Thank you to the 800 plus people that are joining us for the open. We have some things in accumulation. Obviously, I have read many of your chats. Andrew says, what are your thoughts on SoFi? Seems to be making a small base. Look, I tell you what, Andrew, we'll check it out, seeing as you guys like it so much. So here we go. We're about to enter into the open. Let's see what happens. We're up 0.1% on the S&P. We are up 0.3% on the US 100. We were up 0.5 before. US 30 down. DAX down slightly. Pretty flat here in the Monday into the open. Look at this. 6 seconds. 5 seconds. I'm pretty sure I'm right and the daylight savings changed. All right. There we go. So we're open here on the market. Ding, 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 ding. Congratulations for making it through. Let's see how this market ends up dealing. So let's go to the US 500 now because I want to see all of the structure. Let's go to the 15-minute. There's our 45.64 kind of rando resistance that was found. The market opens 0.4% up. Let's go over to the actual stocks moving the markets. Let's look at the percentage change here. So as we expected, the biotech comes through pretty heavy here. BioNTech up 2%. Already. Block moving 2.52%, so not bad. There on the open. Moderna, there's a biotech fest. There's a biotech party. They're having a party. Let's go on the negative side. So negative McDonald's going down. 3M, a little bit down here. Interesting. Boeing, remember 3M hasn't really broken out yet. It's just kind of in accumulation. What else we got here? Deere and Co. So a lot of the older companies are down. Let's have a look at Twitter, I guess, into the open. Do we have Twitter in the... I don't think we watch it anymore. So let's have a look at Twitter. That's going to be pretty crazy. So it's up 25% on Elon. Elon's the master manipulator. He is Cathie Wood. when she used to buy penny stocks, except he buys big stocks and moves them hard. Wow, he's probably the most powerful mover in the market when you think about it. 24% by accumulating random Twitter base. Impressive. How to make money in one day, hey? Twitter. That's right, Kevin. Twitter. So we'll check out SoFi in a second here. Thank you very much for the likes. Appreciate it, Will. Everyone else. What do you think about US 30? I don't know. The Dow I don't bring in much, and I do it for a reason. Sometimes the Dow's worth looking at, but the Dow is only 30. It's not a good reflection of the market as a whole. So the Twitter trade just hit. My God, I can't believe it hit the resistance. That was oh man. If only I had Twitter, I'd be muting it. I would praise Elon so much, but I don't. So damn you. Why couldn't you buy something that I like or I'm in? That would be much nicer, Elon. I appreciate that. Google here, 0.5. How's Tesla open? So Tesla flat as attack. Market only US 100 tech up. So is that driven by mostly hypers? Let's just scroll through here. So we've got Amazon up 0.22, Google up 0.5, Apple up 0.4, Square now up 3 almost. Fantastic. CRISPR, Biotech doing okay. SE up 4. Seems to be mostly hypers that are doing well, which again makes sense. I mean, Pins was another one that I didn't bring up before, but Pins has got a really interesting resistance on it. Again, there are just all accumulation patterns. I'm not suggesting anyone in particular. I mean, obviously, you've got to make your own decisions, guys. I'm just showing accumulation. So this is just a technical accumulation. And you can see it here. Technical accumulation. So market is fairly boring into the lead. It's kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere land in the first 5 minutes of trade. But you can tell that tech is the general consensus of the day and the bio. So let's just have a quick look here at the markets that are actually moving. I'm just going to load them up. Remember to follow FX Evolution over on Twitter. I do appreciate that. If you're interested in getting a couple of free cheat sheets, you can click the link in the chat and grab those. So let's have a look now at which sector is performing best for the day. So we want to bring this up and get our live sector. So it's actually communications, XLC, that's got the best on it for the day. This is Coifin. I'm not affiliated. I don't even know who made it, but they've done a good job. So utilities down here a little bit in the session. So it's clearly risk off. Look what's down the bottom. XLP, XLU, XLF. Wow. And then we've got XLY, which is interesting because that's usually actually the risk off kind of, that's usually risk off, risk on. Sorry, I mean clearly risk on from the hyper stocks. So yeah, this is an interesting start here. IGV software kind of biotech again coming off the Friday. We've got the normal culprits up here. What a strange combos. Very weird. We've got consumer discretionary down. We've got tech up. Usually they are sitting with each other in harmony. And then we have bio up, energy up. Ah, wow. Strange morning indeed. You can see what's not moving and what is moving. So, yeah, those ones are opening. TAN up 2.19% now. Look at it go. So let's have a look at that because that's a big deal. Let's check out TAN. So TAN here, look, it's putting the resistance on. So someone asked me about this. It's another coiling sector. It's coming into this $78 range. So that probably means that N phase should be smashing it. Let's have a look at N phase. Yeah, N phase usually does pretty well during this time. So TAN right at the resistance. And look, the market itself dropping and tech rolling. Tech is 0.5. US 30 down 0.45. So they're slamming in on this idea of, I want all my weird hyper stocks. Look at Square. Look at it go. 5.4. Huh. Interesting. All right, I'm in my own world of madness right now. So what do we have a look here? ARK up 2%, but that's a normal day for it. Yeah, ARK moving 2 or 3% is not unusual. Again, the unusualness here is possibly some of the stocks that are running. So you've got the bio, you've got the
the general. I think the problem with ARK is when you go look at the stocks, like let's watch them. I mean, Roku, I mean, ugh. But does anyone actually like Roku here? No, man. Look at that thing. I mean, if you prove me wrong, at least I've done one thing on this channel, consistently hated Roku. Consistently hated Roku. If anyone doesn't agree, I have consistently hated it. And I feel justified in hating it along with Zoom. I mean, if you remember, God, I hated Zoom so much when it was high. Because you know why? There's one word. Can anyone guess the word that I hate this company for? And hate is a pretty strong word, but at this price, I did hate it. I remember distinctively having rants about it. Why do I not like it at this price, this price, this price, this price, this price? I mean, maybe here it's more acceptable. Corey says Roku is trash. Roku is Peloton. It's Peloton. The ab cruncher 7 million. No moat. That's right. Oh, you guys are good. You're smart. Tom hates wheat. Look, I talk about wheat. I talk about my losses for a reason. You know why? Because if you remember your losses, and again, still very strange day. Look at the NAS. The NAS in comparison to the US 500. The reason why you've got to talk about your losses is because remember, like Druckenmiller has a great quote, and he says, "I've met really great hedge fund managers, and all they want to talk about is their losses, not their wins. They all make lots of money, but why do they remember their losses? So they don't stuff up in the future. It keeps them grounded. Very important we stay grounded and try to not have bias. Do I dislike wheat? Yes. Did I learn something that day? Don't trade soft commodities. That is a rule that I have. I very, very seldomly attack soft commodities because it's not just what happened to me with the tornado, hurricane, whatever it was, attacking my position. But on top of that, I learned about how bad the contract rolls are, and they are brutal. I mean, contract rolls are so bad. If anyone has experienced actually getting rolled through a contract and getting belted a good 10, 15%, yet you'll look at it on the chart and you'll be like, oh, wait a second, I didn't know that happened. So many years ago, I learned this. And for me, soft commodities is hard, guys. It's hard. Suzanne says, Tom, absolutely agree on you. Roku, ZM, Peloton. Yeah, if I was to pick my favorite there, though, I'd still probably go with Zoom because people say one thing. They go, are you going to Zoom meeting me or Zoom? Are you going to use Zoom? That's like the word. But then again, there has been a company like that before. SKYPE. And back when Microsoft didn't know how to acquire, they used to eat companies and destroy them like this one here. This is a very weird day. We're up. What? How weird? 0.74. So our hypothesis is theoretically correct. The US 100 is up. Hyper stocks are leading along with bio. How bizarro. Look at them all go. Look at all the weird hyper stocks going. And this is only a few of them. I don't actually have the watch list for hyper stocks. Let's just load up this Weeble here, whatever it is. Check that out for a second here. So percentage change to the down. Oh, poor 3M. It's still stuck in its thing. Let's go to the bullish side. So it's like a risk fest. Look at them go. All the crap stocks. Well, I mean, you might not think they're crap, but you know what I mean. All the stocks that everyone hates. They all hate them. And suddenly it's the day of crap stocks. Look at them go. The old D-Dog. Interesting. You guys would be happy because most of you love these stocks. Sebastian Selentr, and hey, I like some of them too. Sebastian Seltenreich, $5. Thank you very much. Hi, Tom. What's your thoughts on the DAX C20 DMA and 14,000 as support? If it breaks the DMA 1/3 short, too aggressive, and after 14,000, 2/3. Oh, interesting. So yeah, you've got here the DAX is using a scaling concept. And here is the DAX. So basically, you're saying 14,000, 14.1. Let's go to the daily. So I just want to bring up the big point here. And this is probably correct in some ways. This was a Wyckoff.
You had the max pain twice, and you had a huge distribution. It broke. It got slaughtered. It rallied. It sold off this area. Very interesting. The European market is pretty sick, in some ways. So I think, you're saying 14,000, 14.1. I get what you're saying, but you've also got to consider this candle. So what about a follow through? What makes us, you've got the 20D EMA, I guess, sitting underneath somewhere around here. If that's what you're thinking. I kind of go with, right now, this thing's hugging my 20 EMA. Look at it hug it, buying its way through. It's kind of like trapped on it. So what if it breaches underneath? Well, that's where the negativity starts. And then because you're getting that roll-on effect from the weekly shooting star as well. So, that's probably where it really begins in terms of weakness from a technical perspective. Hard to short, though, as you know. Shorting is not easy. It has to be very clear to you. So for me, I'm looking at this thinking, wow, is price hugging that? And if price starts to move to the negative side, then that's a big deal. And then 14,000, obviously, resistance over here, which, just psychological number. Yeah, then it really starts to go bad. So Tesla is down 0.42%. The market is flat, as in S&P. The Dow is down, and the NAS doesn't care. The NAS is up, and Square is just bonanzaing. Look at it go. So Square is bonanzaing, and the rest are not. Sid says shorting is the worst. Shorting is hard. It's hard, guys. I say this in mentoring at the beginning. You can short, but it would be easier to long. And that's because predominantly you've got to think about it. You're shorting a company that employs people to make money for them. It is not in their interest or anybody in that business to realistically lose money. So you're trying to short thousands of workers that are trying to make money for that business. So you need to be pretty damn sure. Apple up 1.2%. Where are we? Yeah, 1.2%. Oh, look, it's all the tech is going well. We saw it before manifesting. It was like risk on, everything was so great. CRM, someone brought up that. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a resistance here. You can see it. Look, I'm not bearish into this month. I can't be. How can I be? I cannot be right now. Why can I be? I cannot be bearish into this month. Even the bit noodles, the Bitcoin. The bit noodles, by the way, did a really good job of bouncing off that key level. Holy moly, look at that thing. I wasn't kidding when I was like, oh, that's clean. Now it's become weirdly convoluted. Bit noodles doing its own little weird thing here. But again, it breaks past 48. 52 becomes fairly clear. Again, risk on. I wouldn't bet against Bitnoodle right now either. I would probably, go with the flow. Ethereum holding better. Again, the community here, you guys have been really smart. Well done. Ethereum BTC, you picked it. You said yes. Ethereum is stronger than BTC. Guess what it is? Why? Because it is. And what's happening is Ethereum is holding during a little pullback here in the market. So let's have a look at some of these bigger ones. We've got the Matic doing absolutely nothing. Got the IOTX weakening here. How's the old DOT? I haven't looked at the DOT recently. The old DOT's weakening. So the market's, the crypto market's kind of floating around. But the old Bitcoin, Ethereum still look pretty okay. Big candle down on 3M. 2.16. Indeed. Indeed it is. So it's still long leg doji too. It's still not really giving us the juice. I've got it here on accumulation though. I'll keep watching it. Jessica Santana says, but ASX ain't going down this month. ASX is its own beast. ASX is just you've got to remember the Australian market is three things: commodities, metals, and banks that lend to commodities and metals. And when you understand the ASX, the Australian market is those three things. Remember, markets are different. What's the FTSE? Old companies, commodities, a little bit of metals, and banks. It's very similar. And that's why it goes okay during certain times. It actually outperformed. What a strange Monday, guys. I mean, I'm sure many of you are feeling okay because you're probably long tech and you're thinking this is a great Monday. What a great day. Well, I don't blame you. I mean, to feel pretty good about it, it's pretty good. But yeah, it's mostly tech. Did this break? No, 130. Wow. Could be crazy if these things break. Could be crazy if these things break. 10 going through at the moment. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I would like to remind everybody, if you're interested in getting access to the streams, obviously we do Monday here every week for free, and we will continue to do so. Nothing will change. I'd like doing streams with you guys. It's awesome. We used to do them 5 days a week or four to 5 days a week on the channel. But nowadays, just due to the way, the whole YouTube works and also my time as well, I've taken them private for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We do a little half an hour kind of hangout. It's a little bit more concentrated, less talk, less randomness, and more about learning and obviously finding opportunities from a technical level. If you're interested in finding out more about that, you can certainly join the private community for free 7-day trial. If you're interested, I mean, you don't have to be. Otherwise, I do always appreciate everybody here. This is what you get as part of it, just so you know. So this is what we do. So generally it will be, I need to update it now because it's obviously 10:30 my time to usually about 12 in America, AM that is. So this will be always there free. And then that's the other stuff we do. So if you're interested, you're welcome to check it out. Otherwise, I wish you all the best. Hopefully you're doing all right. Sandollar77 with the $4 super sticker. Thank you so much, Sandollar. You've always been a great support to us. And I'd just like to say thanks to the community as well. You guys are awesome. And yeah, it's been really good. Now, I said a few stocks I would check was SoFi. Yeah, I mean, SoFi's up 4.7. Do I think it's coming out of badness? Yeah, not convinced here yet. I mean, this stock has just been a horror. I feel bad for so many people being in this too, because they've been, told that it's so glorious by some influencer or something. Look, the good news is you have like a really interesting kind of breakout that could occur. We'll have to watch that. I'm not convinced. The other one was Hood, which I dislike. Yeah, Hood's still in accumulation at this point. So obviously holding the base for now. And that breakout looks to be false at this stage. Interesting volume though. I assume it was Wall Street bets or something like that. I don't know what caused that, but yeah, look, it's basing. It's running the same things we always say, which is we don't like stocks under a year old. I mean, what can I say? Other than that, I hate stocks that IPO in America unless you're early and then you get the glorious run. I just don't like them. They tend to go parabolic and they tend to do this. And if you don't believe me, go check out Facebook, go check out Twitter. Go check out any of them when they first came in. So thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate it. And Sandal says, Apple crushed the call options this morning. Fantastic. No worries. That's awesome. Have a great day off work. Hope you have a good time. And appreciate that, Jason. So yeah, good work, guys. But you can kind of, like, what I'm doing with these streams now is I'm getting more concentrated into talking about the American market, as in the US 500, 100, talking more about, which by the way, the US 100 looking pretty okay here. And talking more, and this could be just the general sign of risk on. Like, here's the problem. Everyone wants it here or here. Okay. The market doesn't give you what you all want. The market will do what it feels like. The luckiness is that you don't have to just trade the index. You can go off and look for, your other positions. I mean, look at Apple. That was a bullish hammer on the Friday, and it's rallied straight off it and given day traders what they want. which is bam, straight through. The S&P hasn't yet, but this has. And some of these other stocks have as well. So remember, there's always another opportunity. Don't worry if you miss one. It doesn't really matter. You just go find the next one. Okay? Never, ever worry about it. And if you think, oh, I'm so stupid, I should have been in that stock that went up 22%, there's always another one. I mean, for goodness sake, Pins is up 8.1%. It hasn't even broken through the resistance yet. There you go. Moral of the story, says Dave, get in before the day it lists and sell the parabolic high and then go away for 5 years and then look at it. Well, yeah, pretty much. Usually it's go away for about 12 to 18 months. That's right. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you very soon. Appreciate it. We had Ty in the building tonight. Maybe we'll get him back on the stream sometime soon. And yeah, appreciate it. See ya.